everybody, and welcome back to Huffoto Presents podcast. My name is Brian Huff, and today I am with Brianna Strange from Fanelia Cosplay.
Hi!
Did I say that right?
Yes, you said it right.
Okay, I'm so
You get a
proud of
gold
myself.
star.
I actually looked at that today and realized there was an I. I was like, I've been saying Fanelia Cosplay. I've been saying this wrong. Oh, man. So how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great.
So I am excited about this. Your work has been really inspirational to me. I've been watching you do your seamstress work and stuff on Facebook and everything. And
Oh, thank you.
how young or what age did you get into actually sewing and making?
Well, I've been sewing by hand since I was 9. My grandmother showed me a few tricks. Like, she was the seamstress in the family.
Right.
Like, my mom can sew, my aunt can sew, but it's just she was the seamstress and just extremely talented.
Right.
And I didn't learn how to sew by machine until I was 17 or 18. It was around the time of the first Tuplocon, because the first Tuplocon was what motivated me to, I'm finally going to learn how to sew on the machine.
Okay, so it was actually cosplay that got you into really wanting to learn how to sew. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, Fanelia Cosplay, what was your inspiration for your name?
My favorite anime is The Vision of Escaflowne. It's a medieval fantasy anime from the mid-90s. And Fanelia comes from the Kingdom of Fanelia, which is the home to 3 of the main characters. 2 of the main characters. One ends up crashing there. Vaughn and Meryl. And Fanelia is destroyed at the end of like the 2nd episode, and that's what kind of starts their journey to take it back.
Okay.
Anyway, I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10.
Nice. So you actually now, you do commission work for folks. And,
Yep.
And do you have what would be like your dream commission? Somebody like you've always been like, oh, I hope somebody orders this.
Oh, anything frilly or sparkly with a lot of sequins, like a Sailor Guardian uniform from Sailor Moon, a Magical Girl from Pretty Cure, any of that. I'm like, I will start working on this right away. And being like, how about we add sequins here? How about we do this? And I'll just go nuts.
So do you take some of them and put your own spin to them, or actually?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like the sequins, I randomly tried that one day because I found a box of sequins at home. And I was like, well, this hasn't been used in maybe 10 years. Might as well use them for something. And then I ran out of sequins by the end of the day, and I needed to go to Joann's and buy some more.
So on your personal cosplays, I guess you spend time building your own. How many do you know about how many you have in your personal collection, or?
The one I'm working on right now that I'm halfway finished with is Cure Flamingo from Tropical Rouge Pretty Cure, and she will be number 50.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is not counting commissions.
Oh, wow. So these are the ones that specifically you made for yourself. That's awesome.
I bought one once, but I ended up just having to tailor it nonstop. It came in the wrong size. I couldn't send it back because it was on clearance. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to, no offense to people who buy their costumes, that's great. But it's just, I was like, oh, this isn't in my size. I got to alter it. And the time it took me to alter it, I could have just made it from the ground up.
Well, it sounds like an artist buying a painting. They're like, nah, I think I'm going to, I got to put my own twist on this, you know? And that's your vision, though. And I think that's really cool because that gives a chance for people to actually own something that's an original piece. I mean, we're talking about artwork, so...
Because when I do something, I try to think, well, what's something I don't often see? And at the time when I started doing work with sequins and beads, I didn't see that on a lot of costumes. Because when I would be looking at, say, like Walmart, I always look at the Halloween costume section. I've done that since I was a baby. I've loved dress up since I was a baby, pretty much. But I'd see like, there's not trims. I want to try that. So I'd start using trims. Or there's no sequins. I'll try sequins. So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you can actually go to the store and see, you're basically looking at what's not there.
Yeah, in a way.
And trying to find like, oh, okay.
Or I'm like, I love how they did this. I'm going to take note.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I've enjoyed about photography is looking at other artists' work and go, oh wow, that's a really good thought process. I've never thought about that angle, or I never thought about that color, or that use of lighting, and then taking that little bit of inspiration and be like,
Like, same with looking at the pattern books at Joann's. I just go through it and I'll be like, okay, well, this could be used for this character. This, if I altered it a little bit, could be used for that character. This could be used for that, and basically it just never ends.
oh, okay. So that's funny. Joann's, I've photographed pageants for years, and I think it's Joann's was just a place that I constantly heard about, and now in cosplay, it's no different. That must be just the mecca of fabric, and
It's the holy land of fabric.
okay.
And I go there at least once a week. I'm on a first name basis with everybody. So they're like, what are you working on today? And I'm like, well, I can't start on this yet, but I thought I'd go ahead and get the fabric since it's on
Right.
sale.
Now that's something you got to look out for. I would imagine, as with everything else in everywhere, things have gotten extremely expensive.
Yeah, like save the coupons, wait for, like Joann's, I always wait for the $1.99 pattern special. That's usually at the end of the month or at the beginning of the month. It
Okay.
depends.
Yeah, I'm a bargain hunter myself. You have to be. I mean, nobody can afford full price anything these days. Man, so your dream cosplay for yourself, was there anything that you've been like, man, one of these days I'm gonna just, you sounds like you've got 50. I guess maybe you.
It's a 3-way tie on the dream costume. Belle's ball gown from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Her gold ball gown, I've wanted to make that ever since I was little. That was ever since I first learned about like people making costumes and going to conventions, that's been a dream of mine since. But that was one of my favorite dress-up outfits to wear when I was little, and I wore the stew out of it until like it was ripped to shreds.
Oh man, I remember. It's funny thinking about all the cosplay and being young and being inspired by different characters you see in movies and TV shows and things like that. Was there any that you saw when you were younger that inspired you, or was it the cons, or what really was the first thing you remember seeing that inspired you to go, oh wait, I want to bring this into reality?
When I was about 3 years old, I watched Toonami in the early 2000s, and one day I just randomly saw an episode of Sailor Moon, and I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life. It still is. And I was like, I want to be Sailor Moon. And my mom had made me a little Sailor Moon outfit when I was little, and I wore the stew out of that forever. And when Tupelo Con was coming up, I had already cosplayed once. My mom had made me Kyoko Sakura from Madoka Magica, and I wore it to Anime Getaway 2014. I don't think that con's around anymore.
I haven't heard that one.
They haven't updated their website since 2015, and last I checked, the website is like, this website is no longer in service.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, darn. But I heard from a friend that Tupelo Con was going to happen, and it was their first year. And I had some nylon in storage to use for Sailor Moon's leotard that I had bought ages ago from Hancock Fabrics, R.I.P. forever in our
Yes.
hearts. And I was like, Mama, could you teach me how to use the machine? And I've always said this, pick a character you love, something you're passionate about, and for your first costume. I love Sailor Moon, but oh my God, working with that nylon was a nightmare. I had to use stretchy thread, stretchy fabric, and the machine was messed up at the time.
Oh,
So we were sewing the leotard until 4 a.m. the day of the convention.
Oh wow.
So I was standing there and getting into the convention, riding on like, I think 30 minutes of sleep. And somebody asked me if I was going to enter the cosplay contest, and I was like, and my mom said yes. And I was like, what? And she was like, you stayed up till 4 a.m. I helped you. You're entering. And I entered, and I ended up winning Best in Show the first year of Tupelo Con.
Oh wow. So that was full on addiction after that. That
Yeah.
was, the bug had bitten you completely.
Because immediately afterwards, people were asking me, what are you making next? What are you making next? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then I just started Googling images and screenshots of various costumes I've always liked and wanted to make over the years.
That seems to be a repeat narrative that I've ran into in this community is the amount of support that people give each other. And it like ask them anything. How did you do this? How did you make this? And they will more than happily stop.
Yeah, like
And
I don't
just-
mind when people ask
right.
me how I made something because that's something I wish I'd known when I was younger.
Right.
Because there was a lot of trial and error, and like the internet is just home to an army of tutorials and tips. So I'm like, for the like working with horsehair braid, that was hardly online several years ago, but I like to use that to make ruffles really stand out in skirts. But I wish that there had been tutorials for that online
Right.
back then, but now they're everywhere online,
So it's
thankfully.
actual horsehair that's used to.
It's actually plastic.
Okay, I was about to say.
Yeah, my
but it
best
makes
friend
it more
was like,
rigid
"What is
so
wrong
it
with you
can-
using real horsehair braid?" And I was like, "Dude, it's plastic."
That's funny. Well, these days you never know. Well, of course, now it seems like more and more and more plastic has replaced everything. But imagine there was a time where if you needed a coarser, horsehair makes sense. Oh man! So Tupelo Con, of course, coming up March 16th and 17th, I believe it is that weekend, and so that's where you got your start and everything. Okay, so based out of Mississippi,
Yep.
but I imagine you do commissions. What's the furthest away you've shipped a commission? Do you know?
Thankfully, everybody's been able to come here and pick it up.
Oh wow! Okay.
I mean, I've told people like if I need to mail it out, I'll mail it out. You just got to pay shipping. But I can't remember where she lived, but I was doing a big wedding commission last year. I had to make the rehearsal dinner dress, 4 bridesmaid dresses, and a flower girl dress. And I can't remember where one of the girls lived, but it was an hour or two away, I think, at the time. I'm not sure if she
Right.
moved back, but she was just all, "Oh, I'll just come by and pick it up sometime later this month." And I was like, okay.
Okay.
Because I was thinking I was going to
So
have to
your
mail
commissions
it.
go way beyond cosplay then. So you actually do dresses and all that sort of. That's awesome. Okay.
Well, thank
so
you.
you've expanded out. So someone that's looking at this and thinking, man, I could never learn how to do that. Maybe they're younger. What was something that in particular maybe sticks out to you that you're like, oh man, I wish 9-year-old me would have known this.
Yeah. I wish that 9-year-old me would have known to iron. Like, don't be afraid of the iron. It's not going to burst into flames the second you touch it.
If I touch it, it might.
Because I was
Although-
always afraid I would set the house on fire with it.
I've had to use a steamer here for the backdrops, and I've learned that the steamer is my friend. The only problem I have is my backdrops are so large, and my steamer is so small. And I'm like, they don't make a big enough steamer for me. So I'm debating on actually putting a dryer here that I can tumble things and try to. But sometimes when things come in, the way they fold them, it takes me forever to get the creases out. Is there any kind of secret to creases that I don't know? And the
well-
fabric is what I'm talking about. It's stretchy, so I didn't think it would be that bad. It's not spandex, but it's a backdrop fabric. It's kind of stretchy, so I thought, oh, this will be pretty easy to get the creases out. But it's an absolute nightmare.
I know poplin. One of my friends uses poplin when she takes self shoots for her cosplays, and she says use poplin because that's more wrinkle resistant and
Okay.
less of a hassle to untangle. I mean,
Right.
get the creases out.
Yeah. I've used muslin, and I got a vinyl backdrop in one time, and I couldn't handle the smell. I imagine it was so new. I just finally I had to get rid of it. I could not. Every time we unrolled it, it just smelled like a chemical factory. I couldn't deal with it.
That happens when I've worked with vinyl a few times. I like working with vinyl. It's just, I will say this though, something I wish everybody would know about vinyl is when you're sewing it, so you don't stick it to the machine, just have a sheet of wax paper over it and it'll go through like butter. I learned that from a tutorial from Hezachan Cosplay. It was a random post I saw I want to say in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Online. I don't know if it's still there. I hope it is because I still use that tip to this day.
Wow. So that's cool. Those things that you ran into in 2009 that still, and that's awesome. Wow. That's...
I mean, I just randomly read that and I was like, I don't think I'll ever use this. I use that a lot.
Yeah, it's funny how things work out like that. You'll run into something and be like, I'll run into that with a piece of equipment that I'll use. I'll be like, wow, this is a great piece of equipment, but I'll never use it. And then the next thing I know, it's the only thing in my bag. Oh, man. So, busy year for you this year lined up?
Most of my work last year was in the summer, but instead this year it's like immediately in February. So come mid-February, I got a lot of work. I got to do some tailor work for a wedding in March, and they had ordered the dresses, but they were too long.
Right.
And they were like, do you do tailor work? And I was like, yes, I do. And they were like, okay, I need you to hem this and take this in and take that in. And I was like, okay, sure.
Oh, okay. So you can do alterations to fit everything. Okay. Wow.
And I get some work around prom season.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that would be a busy time for that. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, anything else going on in the world of Fanelia? I mean, it seems like we covered a lot of stuff really fast.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh,
I know in the age of social media and like TikTok, we don't want to record our mistakes because we'll be like, oh, I don't want to be made fun of. It's called learning and growing from experience. Like I still make mistakes. I may embroidery something on wrong, but I'll just take it out and I'll keep the mistake in because I want people to know that, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years now. You can still make mistakes. Don't let that beat yourself up.
Yeah, somebody asked me that one time. They asked what the difference was between an amateur and a professional photographer. I said, you don't see the professional's mistakes. But trust me, they're still there. That's so huge because you read my mind. I was about to say that a moment ago and it escaped me. But learning to let yourself make mistakes. What I started doing was I quit calling them mistakes and calling them lessons because I've learned so much more from failing at something than being successful.
Like they say, you don't know until you try.
Yeah, and that's me. I don't know till I mess up. And so, yeah, especially in today's world, I feel like we do see this presented world of flawlessness. And even what I used to love about YouTube so much, now YouTube even feels so produced and so... just over directed and lit and just, I used to love, or I still love YouTube. I have all the streaming services, and I don't know why, because I will just sit and watch YouTube for hours.
The only streaming service I use is Crunchyroll, but that's because anime.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. My family and I are huge Attack on Titan fans.
I tried getting into that series because it was everywhere, but I just couldn't get into it.
It's over now, so we're sad.
'Cause my best friend was like, "You gotta watch it. It's awesome," and I'm just like, I just can't get into it. But I like the ending theme.
When I was at the Remix Comic-Con recently, I sat down for a panel on mechs, and they started asking the audience, what's the question you have about mechs from the 90s to now? And it was a hobby group, and they had built all these different Gundams and mechs and stuff,
awesome.
and it was really cool. And somebody raised their hand and said, does a Titan count as a mech? And the massive confusion across the guys' faces as they stood there, and I spoke up. I was like, "Hey, that's a good question because they're not made out of metal, but they are piloted. They're not alive. They're piloted by a pilot." And they avoided it. And they're like, "We'll come back to that." Of course, they never did.
Like in Escaflowne, in the Vision of Escaflowne, there's been the whole debate about, is Escaflowne technically a mecha series or not? I'm like, well, because people are like, it's a suit of armor. But Vaughn has to pilot it to like save people
Yeah.
and like save the kingdoms or everywhere they go in the series. No, I didn't do my annual rewatch last year. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I hardly have time to watch anything. But if it is, I'm so addicted to tutorials. I mean, that's one of the things that people come to me. They're like, "How'd you learn? How'd you?" I'm like, I wish I knew. Well, no, I probably don't wish I knew how many hours I've spent in YouTube in the last 10 years. But going back to, making mistakes and talking about doing this, I've done photography for 17 years.
Oh.
And I still lose sleep before photo shoots. Especially before wedding. I will still lose sleep. So I'm like, did we charge this? Did we pack this? Your brain just like thinks of everything that can go wrong.
I mean, whenever I send out a commission, I'm always like, oh my God, I hope everything fits right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going by their measurements and I tailored it to their size and everything, so please fit. And,
Yes.
But then they always text me the next day like, it fit perfectly, thank you. And,
That's
and I'm
so
just like,
funny.
why did I panic and lose sleep over this?
Yep, I'm the same way. I will sit here and send off photos to a client, and I'm just staring at my computer. I'm like, they haven't responded. It's been 15 minutes. They hate everything. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Oh, man. Well, I just really appreciate you coming all the way up here and joining me today. I'm looking
thank you.
forward to seeing you at TupeloCon and hopefully some more conventions. There's a lot going on this year. I don't know.
Anime Blues Con in Memphis this summer.
Yeah, that's like the only one I don't do.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
they have their own guy.
Oh.
Yep, they have their own guy for that one. But
I haven't been able to make it the past few years because it's either like A, I caught a cold, B, pandemic, or C, somebody was having a wedding that weekend.
there's something else that falls on that weekend, and I can't remember what it was. But there's something that fell in it for me last because I wanted to just go see it because I see all the photos from it. And everybody, the one thing I want to go to one year though is Dragon Con. I at least want to go see it. Because I see all these photos from it.
Like all the
And
costumes there just look so amazing.
It looks incredible. And I'm just like, I want to experience that one time, It's like Mardi Gras. I think everybody ought to go once,
Whenever I hear Dragon Con, I always think of the Dragon Ball fan subtapes and this screenshot that makes the rounds on the internet occasionally that says, no special thanks to Miami Mike. I remember what you did at Dragon Con. So I'm like, what happened at Dragon Con?
That's funny. It's a huge convention. I mean, I can't believe I've looked at maps and it literally looks like it takes over a fourth of the city when it comes in. It's just so many hotels. And, but I would love to go see that one day. And I saw, was it Trans World, the Halloween show? It's up in, I think it's in New York and Las Vegas. It's where these guys that have haunted houses go to find props and find effects and all this
cool.
stuff. And it was indoors, but the building looked so large from all the videos I watched online, you couldn't really see from one end to the other. It literally looked like it was indoors, like a mile long. It was insane. I would love to see something on that scale one day, just the sheer massive size of it and all the different stuff going on. I think that's pretty fascinating. Well, Brianna, thank you so much for joining me up here today.
Thank you so much for
We'll have to
inviting
do
me.
this again, and look forward to seeing you at TupeloCon this March.
Yay!
And everybody out there in podcast land, thank you so much for listening today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one.